Afternoon. This video documentation in regards to the seal beam headlights and also some of the wiring harness that's supplied with the headlights. I just want to mention to it, I understand that for each headlight side that you might have a 2-prong versus a 3-prong wiring harness. Essentially, I understand that you might be having some functionality concerns with the seal beams. In a sense, what this video I would like to kind of discuss with you or give you a few pointers would be is actually identifying on your factory harness in regards to the low beam wire and then the high beam wire and also the grounding wire associated to the low beam and also the high beam wires. So my understanding on your factory E30 chassis, your factory harness should look or resemble something like this, pretty much a T connector, 2 prongs on the side, 1 prong on the middle. If that's the case, what I am suggesting at this point is you would be needing actually a voltmeter that's able to read a 12 volt power. So from there, what I would suggest, I'm using this as an example. Please understand I understand that you already have this as a harness, but again, just to serve an example purpose of the reference tip that I'm suggesting, I'm just kind of using this as a more of a means to show you what we're talking about. So I'll go ahead and power. Again, on your factory side, we're just wanting to know which wire is what function. So I guess disregard what I'm powering right now. I'm just kind of serving this example to power on the voltmeter to show you which readings I can get from the harness itself. So again, I'm treating this as your factory connector. So if you do have a 12 volt voltmeter that you can use with some test leads that you can go ahead and insert into the pin slots to get a reading, this is essentially what we need to be looking for. So again, I'm going to use this 12 volt power supply to treat as your car battery to turn on the harness to figure out what's going on in terms of what's getting powered. So once I power on this powering supply, I'm treating on the on function as a more like a low beam power, I would suppose. So you can see the lights on. So in a sense, it's the same thing as you turning on your vehicle's low beam. And then from there, you're working with your factory connector, your main connector for your low beams, to figure out which of the pins are getting hot or live. So go ahead with your test leads. You have a negative and a positive test leads. And go ahead and insert them accordingly to kind of isolate or identify which of the wires are being powered as your low beam. So right now, I'm not too sure if you can see the reading on hand right here. But as soon as I start inserting, I'll start getting a reading. So I'll go ahead, since I'll insert both tower right here. You can see that I'm not getting any reading on the thing. You can see that I'm inserting the 2 top pin slots. As soon as I move the positive terminal to the bottom slot, you can see that I'm getting a reading. So one more time, I take it off, I'm going to touch it back again, you'll see this will jump right now. And it jumps to 13, so it's at my 12 volt power supply pretty much. So this is essentially what I'm asking for you to kind of narrow down and identify which of the wires are being powered on as your low beam wires, as you see what I'm doing right now with my voltmeter. So once you're able to identify, at least from this connections, how I've wired them, which we're pretending that's your vehicle wiring, I see that pretty much these 2 pins are being powered as the low beam. What I'm suggesting is, being the case that the harness, if you're just using is to simply plug in, for instance, this H4 bulb, I'm just going to go ahead and plug it in. Once you plugged in, pretty much this goes inside your seal beam housing. If you're saying that you're just simply plugging this onto your factory connector is just not making it function correctly, what we would need to identify is pretty much which of the 2 wires is being live as your low beam, and just go ahead and directly tap those the positive negative wire to that wire. So in a sense, it just automatically proceeds with the power to the bulb. That way you can bypass a lot of the wiring configuration. You don't have to pull these pin slots out to reinsert them in to make sure that you got all them out in the correct locations and whatnot. This is pretty much, I'm giving you an example or a tip in regards to how to bypass all that process and just directly wire them in. Again, from my testing with the voltmeter, I see that it's these 2 pin slots that are being activated. On your side, please check to see if it's any other pin slots or whatnot. But since I am determining these 2 wires to be hot during the low beam on phase, with the harness that you receive, what we're asking is, don't connect the male in. Just go ahead and just tap splice the positive and negative wire separately, just like that. Tap, tap. And that way, as soon as the power comes in from your main connector, it'll pretty much transmit through the splicing to power automatically to the bulb. Hopefully this gives you a good reference in regards to what to look out for, to what to narrow down in terms of the low and high beam wirings independent for the two connectors. And again, a voltmeter will go a long way in terms of identifying and narrowing down which of the two wires would be a positive feed, so that you can kind of know which wires to tap directly onto to have them working properly. This concludes the video documentation. Thank you so much for your time.